guys, I'm Dov, and welcome back to some more Total War Warhammer Online action. I am playing as the Vampire Counts. We're going to be facing up against a Greenskins opponent. My forces will be led by the Red Duke himself. He's got Invocation of Nehek, Raise Dead, as well as some other goodies such as El Sif, Arcane Conduit, of course. I do have the Vampire Lady, Lore of Shadows. She is stripped bare of spells, only has Smoke and Mirrors for the map-wide 6% speed buff, as well as a regeneration, just making her a decent all-around combatant. And she's up on the Hellsteed as well, just to give the Red Duke some company. We've also got a main line here of skeletons and zombies with 2 Cryptors for support, as well as a Necromancer. He's just got Master of the Dead, which is an AoE healing aura that the Necromancers have, as well as Invocation of Nehek. 2 Skeleton Spears on each flank. We also do have, of course, the Black Coach, which is, you know, more of a fun pick more than anything, but, you know, Black Orcs are a common pick against the vampires when you're playing as the Greenskins, so I thought, hey, the armor piercing could be decent, and, you know, if my opponent doesn't have a lot of mobility, we could really get some work done with this thing. And another kind of unique part of this build I wanted to try out is a principle that I've been using with Bretonnia and with, excuse me, with the Empire, is to use heavy shock cavalry versus the Greenskins, because in general they're somewhat weak. Their infantry is somewhat weak to heavy shock cavalry, and you know, Savage Orcs get beat down really fast, Biggins get beat down really fast, and you know, even Black Orcs with their heavy armor will take quite a bit of damage from shock cavalry. So, you know, something I wanted to give a try. So I do have 3 units of Black Knights with lances and barding, one of them being the Varix Reavers, who all around are pretty good. They have regeneration and just a great unit overall. 110 armor on these guys, not great combat stats, but you know, 58 charge bonus is pretty good, and 42 weapon strength is pretty good as well, so they should be decent. For my opponent's army, he does have a whole bunch of Black Orcs, so 5 Black Orcs led by the Black Orc himself, coming up in here looking all kinds of mean. Grimgor Ironhide is always a force to be reckoned with. He just can't get around very fast. He also has an Orc Shaman with Foot of Gork and Here We Go, as well as a Scroll of Power, so good stuff there. Here We Go is basically just like a castable Wog, so it gives that plus 58 melee attack, which is just a huge timing burst. Foot of Gork as well is great versus heavy cavalry, so I'm definitely going to have to watch out for that with my Black Knights. He's also got 2 Orc Boar Biggins in support, as well as a nice little firing line of the Rusty Heirs and Orc Air Boys, who, while they do have less unit models overall than the Goblin Archers, they do have better leadership. They also have, you know, better combat stats. 34 weapon strength is decent, and 24 melee attack. I mean, they're okay in melee. They're not as poor as the Goblins. But, you know, they don't have quite as many unit models, and, you know, they're still just Orcs that aren't great in melee. So, we'll see how it goes. Let's go ahead and kick things off here. So I'm just flying around with the Red Duke and his lady, doing a bit of reconnaissance. We have spotted the Rusty Heirs here, so we're going to be flying around, and with this map-wide speed buff, these guys are up to 112 speed. It actually doesn't apply to herself. That's interesting. So she's only at 105, but still, they'll be able to get around quite fast. So we're going to get in here and do some early cycle charging with the Varix Reavers here and these other Black Knights. We'll watch this beautiful charge here, black on black. Oh man. Black Knights versus Black Orcs. Very, very beautiful stuff. Getting into the Orc Boar Boy Biggins as well, so a nice mobile battle ensuing. And one-on-one, I'm not really sure. I think the Black Knights with lances would probably win this, but, you know, the Foot of Gork coming down, I pulled away one of my units of Black Knights, but this other one took a bit of damage there. It wasn't anything overly substantial, so pretty good. We're getting the fodder here in the middle, and one of the issues with Black Orcs is their relatively low model count, and they don't have super fast attack animations, so I mean they will take quite a while to chop through fodder like this. So that's going to allow this Black Coach to get in here and deal some great armor piercing attacks. We're also getting an Invocation of Nehek here in the center from the Necromancer, just to get some healing. The Crypt Horrors are getting in here. They're going to be dealing some great armor piercing as well, and while they're soaked in with these fodder units, the Black Orcs are going to have a hard time getting attack animations on the Crypt Horrors themselves, so they won't take a ton of damage. They'll be able to dish quite a bit of damage in return, so The Red Duke has summoned some zombies here, just tying up the firing line. Him and his lady are in here fighting these Orc Airboys, and the Orc Airboys are not too happy about the situation. You can see an Overcast Invocation of Nehet going down, healing up those Varix Reavers and the Skeleton Warriors here. So overall, we were able to win this kind of mobile engagement here on the side. The Orc Borbiggins are now getting tied up by Spears, who are finally here to support their Black Knights. And, you know, just a wild fight going down overall. The Varix Reavers are in here. They've been cycling in and out of this Black Orc, while this Skeleton Warrior just stands here and takes it right on the chin. Over here, this Orc Shaman's a bit out of position, so Elsif and his lady are going to come down in here and administer a great beating on this poor Orc Shaman. So he's going to hightail it out of there. The Black Coach is coming in here as well, so the Terror is going to take hold. It actually routed off all those archers, routes off the Shaman, and while the Black Orcs are immune to psychology, the armor piercing, you know, of the Black Coach is going to do very nice here. It has a 109 charge bonus, so I mean, this thing can do a ton of damage on the charge, and once it starts to get those progressive melee buffs, let's go ahead and put it in slow motion here so we can take a look. So it has these 3 buffs that will go off at a timed rate in melee. So basically, if you leave it stuck in melee for a while, eventually it's going to proc through these 3 buffs. Right now it's got the Black Scythe, so it has extra charge bonus and charge speed. So that charge, you know, that I got into those Black Orcs did even more charge damage. That's why it's up to 109. So very good stuff. The combat stats aren't great on the Black Coach, but, you know, in a situation like this where it can pull around and use the fodder units kind of as, you know, an anvil, it can very much act as the armor-piercing hammer, and, you know, the Terror is very good against units that are not immune to psychology, so we're going to get in here and run over Grimgor with the Black Coach. It's a very rough time for him, and we did get Elsif back up in the air just because I don't want him necessarily going one-on-one with Grimgor. The lady can stand in here for a minute since she has a lot of healing. She has that self-heal buff. And, you know, the Black Coach is in here as well, so a nice little duel going down with the big boss. He's not too happy. He's probably going to be terrified off. Yep, minus 28. He's out of there, so the Varix Reavers coming in as well. We've pretty much cleaned up most of the infantry fights, so just getting in here to try and mop up Grimgor, and my opponent does admit defeat. Still had quite a few Black Orcs over here, but it was looking pretty grim, and very well played. Fun battle. Figured you guys would enjoy seeing that. Not too often you see those Black Knights with lances, but I think against the Greenskins they could have a pretty good niche. You saw they were able to, while they didn't necessarily win against the Orc Borbiggins, they did fairly well, and I mean they kind of traded evenly in that they took out this mobility, which then allowed the Black Coach to just cycle through and deal a lot of damage. 44 kills there, you know, but just enabling the Crypt Horrors and the Skeletons and everything else to trade much more effectively. Crypt Horrors getting some really nice kills. The fodder units didn't really get kills, but they were not really meant to. You can see some of them even pulled through just because, you know, like I said, the Black Orcs with their low model count and relatively slow attack speed have a hard time chopping through this much fodder. So, you know, I understand wanting to bring Black Orcs, but I would probably cut 2 of these guys and just bring a wider infantry line. Maybe bring some Savage Orcs, because they're immune to psychology as long as the Frenzy is up, which, I mean, it's better than nothing. But, you know, if he had some extra Savage Orcs, like if you cut 2 of these guys, you could bring, what, like 4 Savage Orcs? They would have been able to clear through these Skeleton Warriors in a big hurry, and, you know, may have turned out a little bit differently. Hard to say, but overall I like this build quite a bit. The Black Orcs, Grimgor is always a good choice against the vampires, because you can see, I mean, he hardly took any damage, and I pretty much just had to avoid him the whole fight, so very well played to my opponent. Very much enjoyed that. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you are liking the content, like the video and subscribe. Helps the channel grow, and thank you very much for your continued support. We'll see you guys next time.